Hello everybody, it's Steve, and with another unboxing video, algorithm question right away as I get this box opened up and we start talking about the ship inside it. If you had the funds and could start or restart your collection of Star Trek ships, which three would you pick up and why? For me, I'd probably say it wouldn't be far off from what I actually have in my collection, how I started mine. I had the Akira first, because it was my favorite of the non-hero ships at the time when I started collecting them. DS9, and then I'd probably say the Daedalus from Stargate, just because that ship is, it's a very hard one to find, for one, and I do really enjoy the Stargate franchise, and that is one of the ships that I like. This ship right here is one of about 5 I still did not have in my collection going into today. I still need to get the Earth Space Dock, which is very hard to come by, the Enterprise C, which is an impossibility, the Orville, which is pretty much only available on Amazon and eBay, and then the Prometheus from Stargate, which hasn't been released at the recording of this video. But this is the USS Defiant, aka the USS Ben Sisko's motherfucking pimp hand. Let's open this one up and take a look at the ship itself. And this video may have a few more transitions than usual. I'm fighting a sinus infection and a cough when I'm recording this, but this is NX74-205. Hot damn, we have a magazine this time as well. Haven't gotten one of these in a little bit, so we'll go ahead and we'll start off by looking at the magazine itself. So the Defiant first appeared in the Season 3 premiere of DS9 The Search Part 1, Defiant class. Last seen, okay, very smart, they actually did it correctly here, the changing face of evil. I'll explain that as we go into the ship itself, but the Defiant class showed up pretty much all the way through DS9, showed up in Voyager at the in 2 episodes, Message in a Bottle when the Prometheus showed up, and an Endgame when Voyager finally returned home. I'm trying to think if they ever showed up in Picard. I don't think the Defiant class did. Well, I mean, other than the one in the Fleet Museum during the episode Bounty. So this magazine really go into DS9 and the development of it. If you want to read any of this, go ahead and pause it as you're doing so. One of the facts that I know everybody loves to mention about DS9 is that Michelle Forbes right here was actually approached to be the first officer on the station. Forbes did not want to be tied down to a 6-year contract. She declined, so we ended up getting the part of Kira Nerys made up, Nana Visitor getting cast in the role, Marco Imo showing up, and this looks like this is from his appearance on The Wounded in Season 4, because he's got the facial hair. And Gul Macet, only Cardassian, if I recall correctly, to have facial hair in that front. So you got the wormhole, a shot here from Emissary Part 1, The Last Outpost. Okay, right. So for Famke Janssen, this is her appearance in The Perfect Mate. She had the spots on her head when a Trill showed up in Season 4's The Host in TNG. They had like the forehead makeup on, and I think they kind of made up the idea of like, do we really want to make Terry Farrell wear this makeup? She's absolutely gorgeous, and with that. But also Rick Berman, his name is popping up in here quite a bit. Ugh, the less said about him, the better. The reason that she left there. So this is one of the early designs right here of the runabouts in the show. Not a bad design, actually. It looks a little... That thing looks similar to something we've seen in the past as well. Let's talk more about DS9. This is Ensign Melora Palzar. Titular episode for that. You get Dax and Terry Farrell there. A special effects shot from Emissary with Odo going into a liquid form. To let the little like mace thing go through his head. More design ideas for DS9. That's kind of cool. This design looks very reminiscent, just first glance, at how the second DS9 in the beta canon, the book canon, looks. So it's kind of cool like that. The more of a finished look on that again. If you want to pause and read any of what I'm showing you here in the magazine, go ahead and do so. I'm not going to take offense to it, and probably it might be coinciding with me taking a break, putting a little cut in here so I can catch my breath and not have a giant coughing fit. Cool. Actually talking about casting for DS9 too in this one. Loving this, actually. So you got Avery Brooks, Sirach Lofton, Colin Meaney, and Rosalind Chow reprising their roles from TNG. Hannah Hate, I mispronounced that. I apologize. Julian Amoros. Interesting. I didn't realize that. But City Alpha Deal in there. Already mentioned about Anna Visitor, Terry Farrell, Rene Aubergenois, rest in peace, good sir. Armin Shimmerman, Aaron Eisenberg, rest in peace, good sir. And Max Grodenchak, who appeared in Lower Decks in the last season. More stuff talking about the filming of DS9. Okay, I'm going to actually read this one by myself after the fact because I really enjoyed DS9. Little shots there from Wolf 359. Yeah, okay, now we're talking about Defiant. We're close to the end of this book. It seems like we're now actually talking about the ship itself. One of the things I know that when they were doing the build-up to bring the Defiant in, they couldn't have the ship start with the letter V. Valiant was one of the proposed designs for it, but they didn't want it to coincide with Voyager. They wanted to have a different name for it. So one of the designs right there looks pretty close to the finalized product. And then what one of the final designs was right there. This is a 20-page magazine, and not gonna lie, that was it. That was it. That was all that was for the Defiant itself. Let's go ahead and break the ship out of its box too. And there's the Defiant all snug in its little box. So we got on this one, 2293-A/C. Not the worst number in there. Look at this giant bracket for the back of it. It's actually going to hook it on the back here for the Defiant. And let's see how we can get this guy out here nice and gentle. Like, one thing I've seen with the reviews on this, you can see the front is a little bit almost loose. Let's see. No, it's actually pretty solid from my point of view. I've seen some folks say like the front end is like really loose itself, but fairly lightweight. Let's see if how much I can remember of the Defiant just from memory. 4 decks, although a couple of times they said deck 5 showed up in the ship, built as a battleship. This was an anti-Borg vessel that was developed after Wolf 359. If I remember correctly, Sisko mentioned during the search that it's overgunned, overpowered. Essentially, it's a gun strapped with engines. This thing's meant to fight, and once the Borg threat started to diminish and the problems started to crop up with the Defiant, she was put into mothballs, and after the events of the Jem'Hadar at the end of DS9 Season 2, they said, hey, can I go... Sisko went back to Starfleet and said, hey, do you mind if I go pull this ship out of mothballs, the one I built? Because if I'm not mistaken, Sisko helped design this ship. It's a pretty cool looking ship. It's not nice design. It's not too heavy at all. It's actually very deceptively light. You'd expect a model like this to weigh a bit more than it does, and I'm kind of happy that it doesn't weigh a ton. But let's go ahead and get her set up in the Fleet Museum. And here she is sitting on her stand in my Fleet Museum. I think it's safe to say at this point I have run out of space, because looking at how crowded it is over here, I've got, all my other ships kind of tucked in there, crowded in. I might have a little bit of space back there somewhere. And then over here, like, these ships are pretty tightly packed in as well. I'm going to have to do a big rearrange on this and just get really efficient at how I've got stuff set up. With the close of Lower Deck Season 4 and the Saber Runner class, a combination of these two ships showing up in the USS Pissarro, I'm thinking about taking those ones out of boxes because I really want to hold them in my hands. Let's get back to the focus of this video, though, the Defiant. Gorgeous looking ship. I'm happy that the front end here, this again was something that some folks in the community had mentioned, was a little bit loose. Not in my case. It's actually pretty firm. Obviously not going to jinx it by playing with it too much. The design looked great on this one. There's not much to say about that. I mean, just the painting looks like it was essentially I just reached into my screen on a remaster, just pulled it out and set it up in my Fleet Museum. It looks amazing. Eaglemoss did a great job with this one. Corgi's got the licensing for Star Trek stuff coming in 2024. I think they're going to be starting off with the Enterprise D and the whole Build the Enterprise kit that Eaglemoss was doing when they went under. If you do want to pick up ships like this, in the description for this video and all the videos in this playlist, I've got a link to Master Replicas. They're the ones who are kind of selling off all the Eaglemoss inventory, and also to Real Merch. They're mainly doing the smaller ships. But if you go to those sites, if you want to start your collection or add to your collection, go to those two sites. Let me know what you think of this ship. Answer the algorithm question that I mentioned earlier. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you all for watching and joining me in this look at this beautiful new ship. I'll see you all in the next video.